A very warm welcome to all of you in the class of graph theory. Myself Rupak Bhattacharjee, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, JIS College of Engineering. So let us start our discussion. The topic is graph theory. And nowadays, whenever we are talking about any theory, always the associated question is, what are the application of this theory? Why we are going to learn this theory? What are the advantages and disadvantages of this one? So basically this quote unquote term theory sometimes gives us some trouble. So let us see the thing in some reverse direction. So we are not talking about the theory, we are now going to talk about the application. So viewers, what is a common part in the following pictures? Your job is to identify that. So let us start. It is Intel 71 chip. The next one is circulatory system of human body. The next one is Delhi Metro map. What is the next one? This is Twitter connections. So now we are having four things. Our job is to identify the common thing in them, and now the answer is it is nothing but graph theory. Now I think you are having some inquisitiveness that let us learn the topic. What is the special thing in it so that we can get some interrelationship between the last four things? So let us start. What are the prerequisites of our topic? It is nothing but the set theory, which is the very basic part of our mathematics, and we know that we do have this discussion from our class 11, 12 or in sometimes some previous classes, and set theory is a very interesting and very simple thing in mathematics. Now after that we need some basics of matrix. So what are the various types of matrix? What is basically matrix? How we can relate it as a function? And also what are the applications of matrix? And most importantly, the prerequisite is willingness to learn something new and relish. You have to relish the topic, otherwise this is not going to be interesting, or you can't keep your concentration continuously over the topic. Okay, this is nothing but a symbolic representation, and when the classes will go forward you will be able to understand what are the meanings of these indications. So let us come to a problem. It is termed as Königsberg bridge problem. Now the question is, can you cross over each bridge exactly once? It means if you are in this region, you have to use this to come to in this region. Then you want to come to this region, you have to use this one. Then you go to this region. Now there are multiple options. Similarly, you can start from here, you can come here. Your job is to cross each bridge, but exactly once. So let us try. You can try by your own way. I am trying it by my own way. Suppose I am starting it from here. So I am in this direction. So if I take this, then I am here. Then I am suppose taking in this direction. Then I am here. Then I am in this position and I am taking this one. I am again here. I can't use this one because it is already used. So I have to use this one, or I can use this one also. Now I am using this one. Now I am here. So now I can use this one. I am here. Now I have two options. If I use this one, then I am here. I can't use this one, this one, this one, this one. So I can't use this ultimately. Or instead of this, if you use this one, then you are here, but you can't go to in this position because already these two are used. So you can't use this one. So what is the answer of this question, can you cross over each bridge exactly once? Answer is no. But what is the answer of this question in global sense? The answer of this question is graph theory, the birth of graph theory. So we know that this is one graph what we are actually talking in our childhood days. Also, in some cases we have something of these representations. Data samples are there and we are getting some representations like this. But this is actually nothing but pictorial representation. We are not talking about these graphs over here. We are actually talking about a completely new branch of mathematics called graph theory. Okay, now a graph G is a pair of sets V and E where V is the set of vertices and E is the set of edges. The question automatically will come, what is this and what is this? But importantly, in the prerequisite part, we have talked about set theory, and look at this, we need this over here. So what is vertex? The nodes or identifiers or dots used in graphs. And what is the concept of edge? The connector of two vertices. So if we take this one as the pictorial representation, so this one is my vertex, this one is my vertex, this one is my vertex, and so on, and this one, this one, these one are my edges. So this is the representation of a graph where we are getting vertex and edge in this form. So obviously we get this thing clear, what is the concept of vertex and what is the concept of edge. Now we get the vertex set actually represented by v1, v2, v3 up to vn. That means you are talking about a graph where n vertices are there. And similarly, when you are talking about edge set, e1, e2 up to em, that means m edges are there. Now, one very important part I want to mention, that in case of edges, pattern of drawing is not important. Means, suppose this is your graph and you are drawing it by this, and suppose this is your graph, instead of drawing this you are drawing it by this. If you are thinking about lines, curves, triangles, Euclidean geometry or something like that, then they are different. But we are talking about graph theory where the important thing is that from where it started and to where it reached and how they are connected is not important. Whether they are connected or not, it is important up to our level. Obviously, when some more terminologies will come, we need some more properties on this edge, but at this moment it is not the pattern of drawing, it is from where to where it is connected. Next, emptiness of V and E. What does it mean? We have vertex set and we have edge set. Now if this is null set, what does it mean? And if this is null set, what does it mean? If the edge set is null set, means there are no edges, but there may be some vertices. But if the vertex set is null set, that means there is no vertex. And if there is no vertex, there is no question of appearing any edges. So if the vertex set is null set, there is no vertex, there is no edge, that means there is no graph. So emptiness of V and E, E can be empty, but the vertex set is not. Now we are going to emphasize on some basic terminologies of graph theory. What is self-loop? Self-loop means an edge which is started from a vertex and ended at the same vertex like this. Now the next term is parallel edges. That means if we consider two edges where both the edges have starting point, means starting vertex, and the ending vertex is same, then they are called parallel edges, like this one and this one. Next, what is simple graph? Now simple graph means a graph which actually does not contain these two things. So what will be the representation of this one? Look at this. You can claim this graph as a simple graph but not the previous one, because previous one is having self loop and parallel edges. Next is incidence property. So let us check what is incidence property. Oh, what a nice picture actually we are having. But what is the connection of this picture with graph theory? So if we think about this one, that this one is a vertex, this one is a vertex, and this one is a vertex, and this one are edges, then we can see that this edge is incident on this vertex. So incidence property lies between vertex and edges. An edge which is starting from a vertex ending at a vertex, they are incident. That means this edge is incident on this, as well as this edge is incident on this. Now what is the next property is adjacency property, and this adjacency property is also having the same figure. So let us check what is the adjacency property here. If we consider this as a graph, we see that this edge and this edge shares a common vertex. Then this edge and this edge are adjacent. Similarly, this vertex and this vertex shares one common edge. So this vertex and this vertex are adjacent. Clear? Now we are getting some more informations on this, the degree of a vertex. So if we consider a vertex, suppose this one, then how many edges are incident on that particular vertex? Then we actually count that and then we call it the degree of this vertex. So the degree of this vertex A is 4. Now what is even degree vertex? Even degree vertex means where the degree of the vertex is even. So this is even degree vertex. So immediately another question will come, what is odd degree vertex? Odd degree vertex means where the degree of that vertex is odd. So you can search about this one also, 1, 2, 3, or you can get this one. So let us check. This is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 odd degree vertex. Now one question is coming, that what is the degree of this one? If we consider 1, 2 and 3 edges are incident on that vertex, then the degree of this vertex has to be 3. But my request is to consider this one with some different idea. Let us check. If you take this part and if you just magnify this one, then what you will see, this one and this one. If you are magnifying this part, actually you are getting this one. So in your magnified part on this vertex, how many edges are actually you are getting incident? It is 4. So the degree of this vertex will be 4. In another ways, we can say that the contribution of this edge in the concept of degree is 2, and this contribution is given in a single vertex. If you think about this edge is contributing degree 1 over here and degree 1 over here, but this edge, that means the self loop, is contributing 1 and 1 both in B, so the degree of this vertex is 4. Now another important point, that is isolated vertex. Isolated vertex means where no incident edge is there, so that means the vertex alone. Now pendant vertex means whose degree is 1. So if we want to draw a pendant vertex over here, suppose there is another vertex A, B, C, D, E, F, suppose it is G, and this vertex is having degree 1 because only one edge is incident on this and it is not a self loop. So this is pendant vertex. Okay. Now what is regular graph? Regular graph means all vertices are of same degree. So if we draw a graph like this vertex is of degree 1, This vertex is of degree 1. So it is a regular graph. Okay. Now check another example. This graph is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices. But if you consider the degree, it is 3, it is 3, it is 3, it is also 3, it is also 3, 3, 3 and 3. So what you get? All the vertices having same degree, so it is a regular graph. Now what is null graph? Null graph means a graph where there is no edge. That means if you are considering this one as a graph, then there is no edge but two vertices are there. Now what is complete graph? It is very important. A simple graph, this is the most important part in complete graph, that it has to be a simple graph. That means there will be no parallel line, no edges in the graph, with each pair of distinct vertices is joined by an edge. Means if you take any pair, you will get one edge for that pair. So let us check it by representation. This is a graph where the number of vertices is 1. This is a graph where the number of vertices are 2. And it is 1 and 1 of degree. So the degree are same, it is regular graph. And there are two vertices, both are joined. So it is also a complete graph. Now look at this. This one, this one, this one, there are three vertices. This pair is joined. This pair is also, this pair is also. So this is also a complete graph. Now take this one. There are four vertices. This pair is okay. This pair is okay. But this pair is not. So it is a regular graph. But it is not complete. But if you have to make it complete, you have to convert it into this way, and which is a complete graph. Similarly, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices, it is regular, but it is complete. And in this way, if you observe all these examples, you will get this final one are all complete graphs, and they are actually growing bigger and bigger and bigger from regular graph, and they give birth to the complete graph, but keeping it simple. Now we are having another concept of directed graph. Now what is directed graph? That means from the terminology it is clear that there must be some direction. So it is one undirected graph because here the vertices and edges are not having any direction present in this. But if you take this graph, then you will see that this is directed graph, or in short it is called digraph, because this one and this one is having one edge with some direction. So when there is a direction in edges, it is a directed graph. Okay. Now what is weighted graph? This is a very important concept. When you are giving some emphasis on the edges, not only from the directional point of view, but also from different significance. That means if you have a vertex A and V and they are connected by an edge, and if you have another vertex C, A and C, they are connected by an edge, but the edges are having some different significance, then you have to signify this one by some weight, or by the thing which is termed as weight. And when the different edges are having different significance in a graph, that graph is called a weighted graph. So this is the example of this one. Look at this. This is the vertex 0, this is vertex 1, and this is vertex 8. There is one edge and there is one edge, but this edge is having weight 3, this edge is having weight 4. You can imagine it is something by the fare depending on the transport system. So if you are trying to go from Shialda station to Esplanade by bus, and the same thing by taxi, the fares are different. So this is the example of weight. Now what I can see, out degree and in degree of a vertex, this term is actually applicable for directed graphs. So let us check what is this. we can think about this direction which is incident out from this vertex. Here you can see this direction which is incident out from this vertex, but if you see this edge, it is incident in for this vertex. So if you think about out degree and in degree of a vertex, the number of vertices incident out is the degree or out degree of that vertex, and the number of vertices in number of edges incident in, then it is called in degree. But what is the total degree of this vertex? 3. So what you are getting? Yes, the out degree and the in degree is summation is the degree of that vertex. So we are getting this is out degree and also in degree for this particular vertex because it is a directed graph. Now in reality, where the things are important, now both the terms are very much familiar to you. One is obviously Facebook and another is Twitter. Now look at this. Actually the concept what Facebook is using, it is nothing but undirected graph. But when you are thinking about Twitter, it is directed graph, because if you think about this node and if you think about this node, they are having both directional connection. But if you think about this node and if you think about this node, they are not having both directional connection. But here if you think about this node and you are thinking about this node, they are connected, and if you are thinking about this node, they are not connected. There is no question of direction in Facebook. Now we are entering into some observations, obviously, which will be having some terms called theorem, but you can take it firstly as the property. You have to relish it, then you will be taking it as a theorem. The maximum degree of any vertex in a simple graph with n vertices is n minus 1. So what are the important points over here? The important points are, first of all, we have to think about maximum degree of a vertex in a simple graph with n vertices. So suppose we are taking a simple graph with 2 vertices. If I want to join some parallel line over here, it is not going to be simple. The degree will be increased. If I want to join some self loop over here, then obviously the degree will be increased, but it will not be simple. If I want to make it simple or keep it simple, the degree of this vertex is 1, the degree of this vertex is also 1. Clear? Now we can think about in some different manner also. So if we take the degree of a vertex A in a simple graph is suppose n, or suppose it is k, because we have already taken the term or the number n as the total number of vertices. Now we have to think it in some different manner, that this means this vertex A is having k connections with other edges. So 1, 2, 3 dot dot dot, in this way there are k vertices. That is why this is having degree k. So in the simple graph I am getting at least k plus 1 vertices has to be present. This is k vertices and this is the vertex A. So at least k plus 1 vertex has to be present. So n has to be greater than equal to k plus 1. N has to be minimum k plus 1 or it may be more than 1. So if n is greater than k plus 1, then you can think about that k which is less than equal to n minus 1. What we have targeted, degree of A is k, and what we get, that k is less than equal to n minus 1. So it gives us the information, the maximum degree, that means the value of k maximum can be n minus 1. Clear? Okay. So moving forward, we are getting another information, that maximum number of edges in a connected simple graph with n vertices is n into n minus 1 by 2. the maximum number of edges. So what is the concept actually? If there are n vertices, then it has to be simple. So it can be connected, it can be connected, it can be connected. But more than this you can't do, because if you want to do something more for this graph, it will not remain simple. Clear? So look at this, 1, 2, 3. We are getting here 3 edges. Okay, and number of vertices 1, 2, 3. Here we can consider it is 3, so n is equal to 3. So what we get, 3 into 3 minus 1 by 2. So what we get, this one is 2, this one is 2, they are cancelled out. What we get as n into n minus 1 by 2 is 3, and what we get, the maximum number of edges in a connected simple graph is 3. It is the maximum one, because it is maximum because it is a complete graph. In either cases we can get that 3 vertices are there, these are connected, these are connected, so it is 2 which is less than 3. Okay, so it is actually nothing but all possible selection of 2 vertices out of n. So you can think it about as NC2. And what is NC2? NC2 is nothing but n into n minus 1 by 2. Now the next one, the sum of the degrees of all vertices in graph is twice the number of edges in that graph. This is actually very simple one. What they are talking about, if there is a vertex, if there is a vertex, if there is a vertex, and if there is another vertex, suppose they are connected like this. First we will check it. It is 2, it is 3, it is 2, it is 1. So the summation is 5, 6, 7, 8. And how many edges we are having? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 into 2 is also 8. But this is not the way to prove it. This is the way of verifying it. The thing is that we can prove it by the sum of degrees of all vertices from where the degrees of a vertex came. It is nothing but the contribution of an edge. This edge is always having 2 with its power. That means it is having contribution 2. Now this edge is contributing basically 1 in this vertex and another one in this vertex. So if you have E number of vertices, then their total contribution is 2E, and this total contribution is going to be contributed or rather distributed among all the vertices, and that distribution is nothing but the degree of the vertices. So the sum of them must be equal to 2 into E. Here I want to emphasize on part on self loop, because if you are talking about self loop, look at this, it is also having 2 as its contribution. It is contributing 1 here, and again it is contributing 1 here. So ultimately the contribution of this edge is 2 and it is contributing in a single vertex. So again, if there is any self loop, then also this theorem, or rather you can say this statement, will be valid. Now let us try one thing. We are actually in the concluding part of this class. I don't know how much interest I am able to grow in you, but this is my weapon. In the last part of this class, let us start. There are 3 jugs, A, B and C, okay, with capacities 8, 5 and 3. So there are 3 jugs where the capacities are 8, here the capacity is 5 and here the capacity is 3. The jug A is filled with water and we wish to divide the water into 2 equal parts. That means I want to make it 4 and 4 by pouring it from one container to another. that is without using any measuring devices other than these jugs. Okay, so let us think how to distribute it. It is actually your job is to find it out. Just I am going to give you some clue that you can represent this problem in this pattern, that this is 0 0, this is 0 1, 1 0, 2 0, 3 0, 4 0, 5 0, and this is 0 0, 0 1, 0 2, 0 3. What does it mean? Means when you have both the jars 5 and 3 both are empty, then you are in 0 0 position. Now you can go to this position by pouring 1 liter of water from the bigger or rather biggest container over here. But can you pour one? Because there is no measuring device, so you can't go from 0 0 to here, but you can go to this position. Look at this, because you have 8 and you have 5. So if you just fill it by just totally, then you can make it 5, and the second container, that means which is having the capacity of 3, it will remain blank. So you are in the position of 5 0. So this connection is possible, but this connection is not. Similarly, this connection is possible, but this connection is not. This is the presentation. Now it is your duty to think about how to proceed. I can start by giving you one clue, that is, if you start it from A to B, that means after going this here, then you are pouring the water to B. Now look at this, from the initial position you can go to here 5 0, and from this if you just pour it to the third container, then you will be having 2 3, because 2 will be here and 3 will be here. So it is having 2, it is having 3, and it is having also 3. In this way you have to proceed. After that, in which process you have to pour the water from which container, so that you can reach to your final target 4 0. I am giving you the answer over here, but it is your responsibility to try it first. So the answer will be something like that. Clear? Now I am thanking you all for attending this particular lesson, and I am very much grateful to you. If you have some feedback and if you communicate it with me in the given mail ID in the very first slide. Thank you for listening, and thank you for learning.